Hello, everybody. Roger Durling, Executive Director of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. And I am so excited because we have the great Robin Wright to discuss her feature film directing debut, which she also stars in it, and Golden Globe winner, Robin Wright. And then we have Academy Award nominated Demian Bichir with us. So excited to have you both here with the film Land. I was telling you guys offline what a powerful film. And I want to start with you, Demian. You have one line that just knocked me to the core when I heard it. It's Robin Wright asking you, "Why are you helping me?" And you answered, "You were in my path." Can you tell us about performing this script and the first time you read it, and were you struck by that exchange between the two characters?
First of all, thank you, Roger, for this space and this time to talk, about our film. It is one of the things that resonated when I read it. It's one of those lines that you're just so happy to be able to say. That's what we do, actors. We say beautiful things and sometimes awful things too. And that was one of the things that hooked me, and it's not that we knew that this pandemic will come, but we know how, the last 4 crazy years were. And over, some more years that we've been dealing with many different things. And how many times you have that opportunity right in front of you to make a difference in someone's life, and you just decide to turn around or look away instead of facing the fact that someone's there in your path, that, for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, in accepting that invitation from this human being that, I know nothing about, I also find redemption. So it's a beautiful, give and take.
Mm-hmm. Robin, I before I start talking about the themes and everything about the film, I want to commend you with your directorial choices. I've seen the film 3 times now, and I was noting that the cinematography calibrates the 80s emotional state. We start noticing changes in color and the way we see the visuals. Can you talk about that choice that you made?
Well, you nailed it. That's exactly what we discussed, the DP and I, when we were prepping the movie, is she doesn't even see nature when she first arrives. It's not even in her scope. So everything should be much bigger than her little person that's a foreigner in this land. And then as the rebirth starts to occur in her life, with the help of this beautiful stranger, Miguel, that comes in and says, if you're going to choose to live here, I need to teach you how to do it properly. Otherwise, you're not welcome. And accepting that kindness and that guidance allows her to, yes, notice things more. She says the line to him. He says, what do you want now with your life? She's like, I want to notice things more around me. I want to learn about being here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a respect that you have to earn. And then you can commune with nature. So later in the film, everything started to become level, equal, not overpowering her so much.
Yeah, there's more color. Also, I noticed that the movie becomes sharper. There's more contrast visually. Your cinematographer, Bobby Bukowski, right? And you work.
Yes.
You guys calibrated all of this.
That was part of the discussion, is how when it's not in your scope, it's not, you can't even distinguish between the contrast of colors. Everything's just kind of matte. Your whole life is just matte. And he said that's going to happen in post-production with the color grade as well, is we will open up the sharpness of colors, plural, and the definition. Like when he started to get closer and she was picking the sap off the tree, or the ladybug on her hand, or touching the earth and then panning up. You know, we wanted it to have this fluidity where she was at one with nature.
Yeah, and I was also noticed, and I'm sorry to get so technical about it, but there's so much richness in it. I was also noticing that the music, you know, at first is discordant and minimalist in sound, and as her progression towards the end, it becomes almost symphonic. And you know, am I making this up? Is this part? What was that part of the?
No, I'm going to get you on my next film in the old score. You know, if you could come into the studio, Roger, that would be really helpful, because you nailed it. Exactly that. We wanted discordant, and you know, you pick your assembly music, your temp score, and you live with that for so long, over a year. And I couldn't not hear Tom York, Radiohead. You know, in the beginning, where there's just chaos and synapses going on in the brain and nothing's fluid.
Correct.
And I wanted the emotion also in the beginning. That's why I picked that trio and Ben Soleil. I just felt strings. Strings were exactly what the heart needed in the beginning of this film. And then as we were completing it, I was like, why don't we just carry that theme? It'll modify a little bit later, halfway through, modify again in the end, but there is a theme of that sound that runs throughout the film. And we called it Edie's theme. That always brought you back to that same remembering. Because it's not like, oh, she's all healed and now she doesn't have to think about the past anymore. You never forget, never forget. You just remember it in a different way.
Correct. Demian, you've directed yourself. Was part of the allure of joining this project the fact that you were working with a first-time director, and what was the experience? I mean, to Robin's credit, she's done 10 episodes of House of Cards as a director. You know, can you tell us about the allure of working with a first-time director?
You know, taking a look back into my work, I've done many first features. In many different places, you know, in Argentina, in Mexico, of course, in the U.S., and Bolivia, Colombia, and Ireland. And it's always, I find that experience a very fascinating type of collaboration, because there's some vertigo to it, some la vertiginosidad del evento. The rush that represents, it's so beautiful and inspiring, and such a great actor as Robin becomes a feature director. You know, you want to be there, you want to be as close as possible to that experience, you know what I mean? So I was already happy to meet her when they called me, and we set up this meeting in her house. I was already happy to be able to chat with this person, with this artist, whom, you know, I've admired very much for many years. And but I wanted to be a part of that film, not only because it was a first work, and I know what it is. I've done it many times, and there's a beautiful, beautiful rush to it, as I said, but also because we need more female directors. And if those female directors are, you know, fantastic actors as well, you know, I'm in just to bring her coffee, or to be her driver, or to be her, you know, bodyguard, or, you know, whatever she wants. And so you can only imagine how blessed I felt that I found a beautiful script and one of the most beautiful characters that I've ever had the chance to play. so rich in many different ways, and that demanded different things from me that I haven't tried before as an actor. So all that packaged together, it's so rarely found.
Robin, so you decided to direct this. Tell us about what compelled you to do it. Were you always looking for a project? And did you discover Jesse's script? Did it come to you?
Yes to both. I mean, the projects were coming to me. I was finishing up House of Cards, the last season, and I was reading maybe weekly offers to direct. And this one, it was the line that you mentioned at the beginning that hooked me. It was Miguel's line in answer to "Why are you helping me?" And he says, "You were in my path." I loved how beautifully simple it was and how beautifully human it is. And at the time that I received the script, it did come to me through my agent. It was during the time that we were all experiencing the random shootings that were going on frequently.
Oh, wow.
And I just kept waking up every morning thinking about the amount of loss and grief these poor people are feeling, and how do they get through? How do they pull through? And there was this movie about hope and human resilience. So it wasn't just about you're going to get on this train of grief and you'll never get off. That's not always true.
Mhm.
And I just thought, what a beautiful message to put out there right now, especially now that we got to get into Sundance. What an honor. And that this film was released now. This film was supposed to come out last summer, but the pandemic shut us down and we had to finish remotely. So you think about that timing, it's a beautiful fate that it's now, because I think that's what people are resonating with.
No, absolutely. I mean, I was watching it, and the movie felt to be speaking about now the fact that we have had to learn to rebuild, to create a new way of living. And and that's what Edie goes through. It's so resonant. It's so incredible. Demian, you talked about the character being like nothing like you've played before. I was noticing in my couple of times watching it that this character has to be very patient. It has to be a listener, and observant. Were those things that felt like a challenge, exciting to, and tell us about the process.
They were a challenge in different ways. Also, the fact that he talks very little, only a few words here and there, that he's a very contained type of character, that very frugal in words, actions, and emotions. And that's what I love when I watch my favorite actors acting, when there's silence, when they are silent, and when you see what's happening in their eyes, when you go into their inner feelings through their eyes. So that was, to me, something that it was a challenge and a joy to explore. And you need a good captain to guide you through that. You need a good shaman, as we call it, un buen chamán, un buen brujo que te lleve en el viaje. It's like like a peyote trip or like an ayahuasca trip. You know what I mean? So you need a good shaman to guide you through. Because if your director doesn't take the risks you want to take, if she doesn't take those risks with you, then you're on your own and it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. And without saying much, because when we met, it was like, wow, where have you been, sister? All this over the last 2 centuries. And it's like we've known each other forever. And when we shot the film, it was very easy to communicate. It was only through eyes and through signs sometimes. And it flew, very, very nicely.
That's great. You use the word shaman, you're called Yoda. There's quite a, you're almost like a priest in this film, un cura, there's a very peaceful quality.
That's true.
that you bring to.
That's true. And let me just say that, Robin said this key word right before we began shooting. She said, "You're a saint. You're a man of soul." And that was pretty much like, pow, like the cherry on the cake for me to, just jump off that bridge and jump off that cliff with no safety net and just trust her.
And Robin is your first directing job, and then you take on the challenging role of Edie. What was that always the plan, that you were going to direct the film and take on Edie at the same time?
No, that was not the plan. And it had to become the plan, is what happened. Because by the time we got financed, we had 48 hours to cast the movie and pack our bags and get to Canada, because we only had 29 days to shoot the movie and we needed to get 4 seasons in 29 days. So the producers were like, we may not get cast in 48 hours. So if we don't, you're going to have to do it. And I was like, oh, I'd rather put forks in my eyes. I just really want to direct this movie. It's such a beautiful story. And I love watching actors evolve into a moment, when you give a note, tell a story, and you just see this transformation happen. It's such an amazing craft. And I just wanted to have those goggles, I just wanted to be behind the camera. And then they just said, guess what? You're going to have to do it. And I just said, okay, well, I'll be there anyway. So let's go.
But you directed yourself before. Was this challenging for you? The fact that you had to be directing and then shifting into acting mode and being in front of the camera, or
I mean, it's always more work, obviously, and you do have to switch hats and get out of this cerebral mind of director, because there's always questions being asked. You've got to answer 4 million questions. You need to ask 4 million. And your wheels are always turning. Then when you jump in front of the camera, that's when you have to meditate. You got to take a breather, get everything out of your mind except the one thing you need to reach that emotion. And that kind of light switch, I think, became more like a job. It really did feel more like a job jumping in front of the camera, because I had to get it done quickly. 1 or 2 takes, we had to move on. Our schedule was too crowded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
it wasn't time to wallow in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about acting, but I was thinking when I was watching how challenging this role is, that I was wondering that if you needed more from yourself from a director point of view, you could push the actress to give you more, if you know what I mean. Is that you could be tough on yourself
my God, of course. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that ever will end. I wish I had more time to do more takes. I am not happy with my full performance, but that's always the case. You always wish, I should have done that. Why didn't I get that take? But I think pushing oneself, it's already in here. You know what you have to achieve. So you don't have to verbalize it and tire everybody out with the chit chat, right? Just go to that end solution that you've always talked about. This is exactly what this scene needs to be. And hopefully you achieve it as an actor. Fingers crossed,
And Demian, what was it like working in that environment? Because I know you guys went to the mountains. You were up in Alberta, Canada. Was it as challenging as it looks? Frigid?
It is challenging. Whenever I read a script, I always, pay attention to the weather conditions in the story. And then, if it's below anything, then I charge a lot more. No way. But And if it's, you know, a sunny type of, you know, on the beach in Mexico, like the film I shot right after this, then I'll do it for free. That is not true. But anyway, you do pay attention to that because I'm a tropical fish, such as fish, apparently. So if you take a tropical fish and put it in the Arctic, that is exactly what would happen. You know, it would just crack like an ice cube. So I had been under severe circumstances and a very high, you know, elevation type of a mountain before on the Hayful Eight. And that had been my record, you know, minus 17 Celsius, which is like penguin.
Where did you guys shoot that, Demian? What
We
state?
shot that in the mountains of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado.
In Colorado.
Yeah, in Telluride.
In Telluride, Colorado.
And just to get used to the altitude, because I'm from Mexico City, that's already high. But just to get used to that altitude, you know, it takes a couple of weeks, and then you know, the severe winter that we spent there. So that had been that. And then when I read this script and I say, okay, 4 seasons, nice, interesting. Okay, so we go for this and that and that. And then lucky for me, because we didn't have to come back. The plan was to go back in January, February to cover winter. And then that happened magically because Mother Nature was so much with us and so crazy and moody that would change, you know, her mind every 2 seconds. So we were ready always to jump into the winter clothes and boom, shoot the winter when we had like 4 feet of snow, which, you know, happened overnight sometimes. And then we would have like a beautiful, you know, sunny day and everything will melt right away. Okay, let's go for a spring. And now let's go for a summer. And that's how we shot it. You know, it was just magical the way everything, you know, was flowing.
And Robin, you could have done green screen. You could have been on a sound stage doing this. Why was it imperative that you were up there?
For the authenticity, we really, you know, we took a big risk making the executive decision to put that cabin 8,000 feet up a mountain with the winds. Sometimes they were 75 miles an hour. And they were like, you sure you want to do this? And the DP and I, we just said, we need to see the breath coming out of the mouth when she's, you know, inside the cabin. We really need to feel that, because otherwise we're going to be subjected to, like you said, green screen, everything's fake. Visual effects is going to have to put the breath in later. And we wanted to live the movie we were shooting because we knew it would translate also as authentic. So every time that door opens of that cabin, you are feeling the season, you're feeling the landscape, you're feeling the environment.
And again, getting geeky with you about the technical stuff, the log cabin, I love the way it transforms as your character transforms. You know, at first it's very austere and dusty, and then, you know, Demian finds the fireplace, you know, there's the cast iron stove, you know, slowly, you know, it starts bringing up to life. You know, can you, you know, tell us about that calibration and also working with your production designer on those details?
Well, our production designer is not just a production designer. Trevor Smith is incredible. He's a director. I mean, he really sees the full movie and the backstory of every character, even a character that is not in the movie. That being, hey, this was a man's house. You find that out in the opening line of the movie. I don't know how long it's been vacant, but an old man lived here for a long time. So she's moving into someone's space. And then with the help of Miguel, opening that home up, and that's also a metaphor for opening yourself up, because she's deliberately shutting every door. Please don't tell me any news about the outside world. Can you do this? Can you do that? Just please don't know anything about me, and I don't want to know anything about you. And he respects all of those wishes. And then he slowly just becomes that saint that kind of slips it in without saying anything. And I always saw that metaphor in the cabin, and so did Trevor Smith, of how it becomes a home. And what does that mean? Many different things. Home. He helped create that for her.
Demian, her character has gone through hell, and so have you, and it is clear that one has gone through a traumatic experience. One wants to help other people, and that's what ultimately your character does. And even before I got to the ending and find out, your story, I could read it. I could read it in your physicality. I could read it in the way that you communicated with Edie. Can you tell us about how were you able to convey that internally, outwardly to the audience?
I just have to say, we make films for people like you, my friend, who appreciate every single detail and every single thing and beautiful, minds that go into making a film. This is just a large group of artists. And just to hear you having captured what we wanted to show, it's just a joy.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I have to say, one of the things about grief that everybody who are going through that right now around the world, they will be very easily related to this, because we all go through that at some point in our lives. Sometimes it will be more traumatic. Sometimes it will be, like now, like people are dying alone. That's to me, that's the biggest tragedy of all this. And but one thing that is certain is that with the right work, first of all, inside, from within, and the right help around you, you can overcome that. That's the only certainty that people need to know, and that you will come back on your feet. And then there's another type of process in Miguel's life that has to do with how you expiate your own guilt and your own feelings of guilt, which is a big load to carry. And I believe in this, the story that Robin and I built around Miguel. He had been helped before, by this beautiful community of people that that he lives with, and we see that at the end. We don't know that, but we see that at the end. He had been healed in different ways through that, and it's just so beautiful how it happens. But he still needs to find redemption because of what he went through personally, because there's a big load of guilt that he's carrying. And little did he know that by helping Edie, he finds that redemption. And I just think it's a beautiful way to close the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Demian, is that your alarm going off?
Yes, ma'am. And it's all the
Are
way.
you ready? Are you ready to leave? Is that what's going on?
No, it's all the way in the golf course. So I have to cross the tennis court and get that fucker down. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. I can talk to. I thought it was actually a persistent person calling.
Me too in the beginning, and then I was like, no, he's got an alarm set, so maybe he's done.
This is crazy because I had it set up to the time my daughter should go to sleep because she's in Madrid with her mother. So I got to set it up so I can say good night, and I set it up also when she wakes up.
Love that.
Robin, I wanted to ask you about the editing. The fact that we start seeing glimpses of the things that happened, glimpses of your past. Can you tell us about what how did you come about that rhythm of slowly giving us peeks into her past?
It went through many iterations, the cut of the movie. We shot multiple scenes of her past. conventional scenes with dialogue. And in the edit, it just took you out of the movie to go back and see that other conventional. So literally, it was like another film. So when we decided to do additional photography, I said to Bobby Bukowski, I said, I really love how emotional and positive the flashbacks are, the elliptical memory flashbacks. They're all happy. They're tactile. There's a sensuality to it, which is intimacy. And I said, why don't we just encapsulate that and see if we can hold, you know, the people going on this journey with Edie, and are they connected to those memories? My inspiration actually was Diving Bell and the Butterfly, Julian Schnabel's movie.
Yes.
I love his films.
Yeah.
And even, you know, Before Night Falls with
Javier Bardem.
There's some great things in that movie too. And we just started stripping the fat from the film, and this is what we ended up with. So I said, since we're going to go back in and shoot a couple of more scenes, this was a year after editing. I said,
It
let's
also
get
made
some
me
more.
think. It also made me think of Terrence Malick and like
Oh yeah.
on Days of Heaven, you know, where you just get it. It feels, you know, very subjective. You know, and you know, the moment of your son running in back of you when, yeah. But I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, I love that you brought up Terrence Malick, because he's somebody, you know, talk about inspiration. I mean, this guy, I was on a set of his once in Australia, and he was sitting at lunch with all of us at the picnic tables, and all of a sudden he just disappears for 45 minutes. Nobody knew where he went. Finally, one of the ADs goes down. He was camera on shoulder filming a leaf that was stuck on a rock in a creek, and the water was just running over it for 45 minutes. I was like, okay, Bobby, I need you to do that for this movie. And he's like, I'm so there. I love nature. I could live in it. And Bobby, our DP, lived in Edie's trailer pretty much the whole shoot, so that he could wake up and get incredible sunrises, storms, windstorms, you know, when the tin roof is banging, all that stuff he would grab whenever it was delivered to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I love that you do make the connection that as brutal as nature can be, it can also be nourishing, you know, and is part of the journey for Edie as well. So you both stayed the entire time of filming. You were up there in Canada, living near the cabin.
Bobby was in the cabin, and one of the producers, Alan Stewart, and myself, we slept in our trailers, which was base camp right behind the cabin.
And
Demian,
Demian,
Demian was in Calgary.
He was in the tropical fish tank.
he was down in, yes, back in the jungle. Yeah. Concrete jungle.
They will fly me back and forth from Cancun every day, you know, like, in order to keep me, you know, warm.
and it was where there, you know, the weather. How should I articulate this? The weather, was it always collaborating with you? Were you making changes because of the weather, adjustments?
Well, you are beholden to the weather, for sure. The weather patterns dictated our schedule. And we didn't have any other choice, you know, but that was our that was our decision, is that we were going to take that risk. And like Demian said, it literally felt like we had the movie angels over us. Because how do you get 4 seasons in 29 days over the course of mid-September to mid-October? Never in a million years thought we'd get it. So feel very blessed.
Yeah, it's amazing. 21 days is surreal. And then I have to ask you about Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Was that always in the script? I can't get the song off my mind, and it's
I know,
so
right?
and it's so poignant, the lyrics. And was that always in the script?
It was in the stage direction that he just starts humming an 80s tune. So when you're on a low budget movie, you get to choose between this song or this song. And that one came up. I don't even know what the other option was, but that one was played and I just started cracking up. I was like, the irony of that lyric. And then when this one started singing it, I was like, this is a no-brainer. We have to go for this. It's just metaphorically, it's perfect for it. And
Yeah.
that we wanted Miguel to have a very wry and dry sense of humor, which he does, you know? I mean, the guy's never seen a Star Wars movie, like these kind of things. But he is obsessed with 80s tunes. So all of it was sort of, designed.
It's beautiful. And I got teary-eyed when the two of you start singing it together. It's very sweet. So Robin, what would you like people to get out of your film?
I mean, you hope that people walk away from this film feeling the uplifting nature of hope, that there is hope to be had, and that it's empowering to have humans that want to help you get through difficult times. It's the word hope. Just I keep going back to it because I think we're feeling a loss of hope right now. All of us in many different ways, just the unknowingness. We don't know when this is going to end. We don't know, are we going to be back to normal? What will that normal be? And I just want to believe in the upside, that we're going to get through this. And it takes others to help you get through difficult times. It just does.
Yeah, it takes kindness, and your film articulates that, Demian, what would you like people to get out?
I think this film is the confirmation of two things: that art and nature have healing properties, and you combine those two things in this film. And I have to say, from my own personal experience, you said that yes, it was brutal. Weather conditions were brutal, and but the view, besides being nourishing, it was healing. And just to be there in front of that view, up in that mountain, that changes many things in your heart and your mind. So those two things together, art and nature, that they have healing properties.
Mm-hmm. Well, Robin, I can't wait for what you do next. I mean, this is quite an auspicious, beginning of a film career. Do you have sights on more projects? Filming, I mean, directing.
Yes, directing. Yeah, I'm gonna go direct a couple of episodes of Ozark in about a month. Very excited about that. Love that show. So that's going to be a totally different beast, I'm sure.
But you'll come back to features to direct it.
I hope so. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, but one of the delights this morning, I woke up and I always read the New York Times first thing in the morning, and then critics pick this morning your film, Land.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I didn't.
It was today in the New York Times, critics pick. It's a love letter.
That is so groovy.
It's a love letter. But to the two of you, I'm a huge fan, and I just loved Land. I love this film so much, and it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. It's such a delight.
Too. It was great.
Thank you so much, Walter.
No, thank you.
Give my love to your mother, please.
Bueno, gracias. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Bye.